What if events went differently in Avengers Endgame? What if the Avengers were captured by the TVA in Avengers Endgame? What would have happened? What would have changed? Find out in today's highly anticipated Marvel's What If video. Welcome back, my fellow watchers of the multiverse, to this insane request. A lot of people were wanting me to do this for years now, and it eluded me for years, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna tackle doing this what if and see what happens. But that being said, my fellow watchers, you have waited long enough. Grab some popcorn, stop whatever you're doing, and let's get into the brand new Marvel's What If episode. Doctor Strange had seen all the possible realities, and he knew that if he had to survive the war with Thanos, Tony had to die. The only problem was that the members of the Avengers were not cool with this. Doctor Strange was not okay with this, and he wanted to try and change it. This was why he had informed some members of the Avengers, because he could not live with it. Doctor Strange told just 2 people, because he felt that they deserved to hear it. Peter Parker was the first person he told, because he knew that Peter was like a prodigy of Tony. Peter could not believe it. He did not want to believe it. Parker asked Strange if there was no way to stop it, but then the Sorcerer Supreme replied in the negative. Peter still didn't want to hear it. He asked Doctor Strange if he had really viewed all of the realities. Strange did reply in the affirmative. He told Parker that the only way that Thanos would be defeated is if he sacrificed himself. He then advised Peter not to interfere with the events, as it might cause or bring unquestionable damages to their reality. Doctor Strange had truly checked off all the realities, but he had not told everything to Peter. They had actually won in some realities, and in some of those realities, Tony was saved. However, in those realities, strange men came and captured all the Avengers, and after that, Strange had not seen anything. Doctor Strange got chills just watching them capture the Avengers, because they did so with so much organization, it was like a horror movie. And Doctor Strange did not want to find out what happened on the other side in those realities. Because of this, he decided to accept the fate of Tony Stark. For the greater good, sacrifices must be made, Doctor Strange said in his mind. Everything was going according to plan, according to the reality that Doctor Strange had seen. Thanos had snapped half of all life of the universe away. But now, because of the Avengers going back in time to retrieve the Infinity Stones and Hulk using it, they were all back. Doctor Strange was not scared when Thanos had won the first time. He even desired it, because it meant that things were going according to plan. However, Strange feared now was Peter Parker. Strange feared that he might impede the outcome of this reality. After beating himself up mentally for even telling anyone in the first place, Strange went into battle. The one time I decided to be nice to somebody, this happens, Strange muttered under his breath. Everything went on as seen in this reality to the last minute. Tony was now sparring with the Mad Titan, and Doctor Strange had given him the hint. He saw the look in Tony's eyes, and he knew that he knew what he had to do. Tony then went toe-to-toe with Thanos, and he sneakingly stole the Infinity Stones. When Thanos snapped and nothing happened, Doctor Strange almost laughed. Now it was time for Tony to play his part and get everything over with. But as Doctor Strange expected, Peter Parker did not allow this to happen. Doctor Strange had already prepared beforehand for him, but Peter was too fast. He immediately shot a web and snagged the nanogauntlet from Tony Stark. Doctor Strange opened a portal to where Peter was heading in order to teleport him to his location. The ingenious plan worked, but before Peter was sucked into the portal, he threw the gauntlet to Steve, who then threw it to Clint, who then passed it to Thor. Banner then stood in front of Doctor Strange to stop him from doing anything. Doctor Strange then understood. Peter Parker had told them, and they had declared that they couldn't let Tony die. Because of this, Doctor Strange felt very strange, no pun intended, and disgusted with himself. He had wanted a teammate, and most importantly, a friend, to die. While everything was going on, the Avengers had forgotten about the Mad Titan, and he was not pleased with it. Thanos took this opportunity to strike. The Mad Titan ran through the Avengers like an unexpected storm, and within moments, they were all defeated. Thanos made little work of Steve, and then Tony. Hulk gave him a little problem, but Thanos still succeeded in smashing and bashing him in to the ground. However, this time, Thanos was the one to forget about a dangerous opponent, and this was Dr. Stephen Strange. Thanos' aim and focus was just to get to Thor, to get the Infinity Gauntlet. Thanos knew that if he got the gauntlet, then the battle would be over. When Thanos got to Thor, he was met in the head with Stormbreaker. However, the Mad Titan took the punch with stride, because he knew that he would be done if he gave Thor enough time to use the gauntlet. Thanos snatched the Stormbreaker and threw it away. Once the hammer was out of the way, Thanos engaged Thor in a hand-to-hand combat battle. This was quite tough for Thanos, because he was already wounded. However, Thanos managed to land a hit, using the size of his advantage, and Thor was stunned. The Mad Titan then got the Infinity Gauntlet off Thor. He then smiled in victory as he was about to snap and put an end to all life in the universe. Thanos had been very foolish to let half of the universe live in the universe, because as long as there were people who remained what was, they would never be able to cast in their minds at what could be. This was why the Mad Titan decided to end all life in the universe, once and for all. However, Thanos' mistake was that he forgot about a very powerful opponent, Doctor Strange. Strange had been doing some soul-searching since, and he felt disgusted at himself. He wanted to willingly sacrifice his friend without even doing something to fight back. Strange decided that he would try and atone for his sins, no matter what happened. Due to his insane commitment to keeping everyone alive and defeating Thanos, Strange decided to do something that he had never done before. A forbidden and very dark spell, Strange teleported the stones to Tony Stark and told him to go ahead. Tony trusted in Strange and snapped his fingers. While Thanos faded, however, Tony still remained alive. The Avengers' spirits then got lifted, and Strange was glad that he did not die. However, while no one else noticed, Strange saw some dark veins in Tony's arm, but he quickly covered them. The Avengers thought that they had escaped sudden death, and immediately started celebrating, but a portal opened. Immediately, it did. The air and the atmosphere changed. Doctor Strange's blood turned cold, because he knew that this was the unknown ending for the other realities, where they had won. Thanos without sacrificing Tony. Strange was hoping that they could have possibly evaded it, but it was already too late. Strange could only watch as the TVA agents stormed the battlefield. The other Avengers tried fighting, but Strange knew that it was futile. Within moments, they captured an already weakened Strange, Thor, Tony, Steve, Banner, Peter, and Clint. Once they had captured them, they kept a time capsule to prune the effects of their action. Moments after they had left, their actions were all erased on this Earth. Location: TVA headquarters. The TVA officials had placed collars on their necks and made it impossible for them to escape. The collars also neutralized their powers. Hulk was even back in his banner form, and everything looked dim in the respective futures. The Avengers knew that the TVA officials were clearly above their league. Stark was still with the Infinity Stones, but he soon realized that it did not work in the TVA headquarters. When he communicated this to his teammates, they were all left in shock. A TVA guard laughed when he saw Tony's futile attempt. He then directed their attention to the surplus amounts of Infinity Stones that they had, and the Avengers lost all hope. They were then shoved into a contraption, which looked like an elevator, but with a loose floorboard, and soon all of their clothes were picked by a machine, one at a time. Peter was at the far end, and he got to see all of the Avengers' buttocks before they collapsed through the floorboard. As the machine picked them up, all of their clothes, when Peter's turn reached, he tried to dodge the claws, but all his efforts were futile. The machine was too fast, and because of the collar, Peter lost all of his powers. The floorboard collapsed and Peter fell through. As he landed, he realized he was dressed in a yellow jumpsuit. He looked around and realized that all the Avengers were dressed up in the same uniform. Captain America knew a prison uniform when he saw one, and he told the group. A TVA official confirmed his words and stated that they were truly in a prison. He also said that soon they'd go for their trial. After this, the officials stacked heaps of paper before them and asked them to sign to confirm their actions and words. Naturally, some members of the Avengers, especially Thor, had issues with this, but Doctor Strange and Captain America advised him otherwise. They told him that it would be wise if they complied, as they were clearly at a disadvantage. Thor then sneakingly told them that they must definitely draft their escape plan after this, but the sharp ears of the officials picked it up. The Grinch-looking TVA official, who looked like he had never laughed forever, actually gave up a little chuckle. He told them that they had been the first people to make him laugh in ages, and they did not find it hard to believe. The official then told them that they were never going to escape, that it was nearly impossible. Peter then began to tremble, but Tony Stark calmed him down and told him that they would find a way out. The TVA official then casually ripped more papers from the rotator while he was still laughing and placed them on a heap. He then asked them to sign one by one. After this, the official told them that due to their number, they would be detained first before Ravonna Renslayer, who was the mouthpiece of the Timekeepers, would see them for their trial. They were then led and put into a cell. Once they all got inside, they experienced a deep sense of despair, but Tony was the first that tried to break the bubble of silence and misery by cracking his signature dark joke. The others did not even crack a smile, and this showed how bad the situation truly was. Banner then questioned Doctor Strange of his actions, and the environment suddenly became tense. Tony was oblivious to everything that had transpired with Thanos and the multiple realities, but Peter quickly filled him in. Parker told him about how Doctor Strange had told him about him dying, and how he had in turn told some members of the Avengers who had stopped it. Tony Stark's face did not change throughout the whole storytelling. When the Avengers saw that he did not react, they decided to resume pressing Doctor Strange by calling him heartless. As they continued to rain insults on Strange, something surprisingly happened. Doctor Strange was very quiet, as the Avengers attacked him because he felt very guilty, but he too did not expect what happened next. Tony Stark told them to call it off. He then told the Avengers that Doctor Strange was actually the one with the most heart for the world, as he was willing to sacrifice for the whole universe. Stark also told them that with or without the knowledge of him dying, that he would gladly still snap to eradicate the Mad Titan for good of the universe. Tony's statement surprised everyone, including Doctor Strange, who was almost tearing up. He had wanted to sacrifice Tony, but now Stark was the one that was standing up for him. This made Strange's guilt increase. However, as Tony stood up talking, something suddenly happened. Tony immediately stumbled and slumped and passed out. This made the Avengers run. When Doctor Strange went to check up on him, he discovered that black strands were visible in Tony's eyes, and it looked as if he was decaying. Doctor Strange then felt a sudden sense of dread coming upon him. He then remembered his forbidden spell that he used on Tony, that saved him from dying. Tony was turning into a zombie. Location: Ravonna Renslayer's office. Mobius had a plan, but Ravonna did not want to hear it. Ravonna had a strong feeling that she had to prune the Avengers, especially Doctor Strange, because he was the most dangerous out of all of them. However, Mobius had a very different plan. Mobius was currently in her office proposing a really crazy plan. He wanted to recruit the Avengers into their team, in order to help around, catch some dangerous criminals across time. The TVA was indeed one of the toughest organizations, but there were still some people that evaded them. One of them was the variant, Loki, and they had not been able to get through to her. Ravonna did not like the idea at all, but strangely the Time Council was quite concerning this matter. It was the council that directed Ravonna on what to do concerning the affairs of the TVA, but currently she was getting nothing. This was the reason why she was even entertaining Mobius. Mobius continued pitching his plan, but Ravonna was still not convinced, and he sensed it. She told Mobius of a million ways that this plan could go very wrong. It was a very risky move, and the Avengers contained very dangerous members. There was no telling what they could do if they were let outside into an unknown world, or even timeline. Besides, even they haven't stood trials. Ravonna told Mobius. Mobius' spirit was however not dampened, so he continued listing the possible advantages and profits. Mobius then ended with the proposal. He told Ravonna that they should introduce their guy to them and see how it plays out. Ravonna then started contemplating on Mobius' plan, as the risks involved were almost non-existent, except the one that their guy double-crosses them. The guy in question was Loki, and he was not to be trusted. Mobius, however, thought all of this out, and he told Ravonna that they could use a mic on Loki, and this would help them hear the intentions of the Avengers. Ravonna thought it over, and decided that there was really nothing to lose. So she approved the plan. Mobius walked out of her office a happy man. Location: the Avengers' cell rooms. The Avengers were still in a dilemma on how to revive Tony, but he suddenly regained consciousness and told them that he was fine. He told them that it was probably the after effects of using the Infinity Stones, and it was nothing too serious. Strange, however, knew the truth. It was very serious. After Tony's incident put them on a roller coaster of emotions, the ride was not over yet as the doors to their cell opened, and the God of Mischief walked in. There was total silence, and this one was only broken by Thor, sobbing. Thor and Loki then hugged, because they had missed each other gravely. Up until now, they both did not know how great of a void each other. They both did not know how great of an absence had created in their lives. The rest of the Avengers had mixed feelings towards Loki, because of their past experiences and his reputation. But Thor made them open up to him. Loki then told them of his story, and that they were astounded. Loki then quickly went down to crux the matter. He then told them that the TVA wanted them to use their skills and talents to work for them. Thor then stated that it would be a nice idea if they could gather information and experience during their working hours in order to escape, and the others agreed with him. It was only Captain America and Clint that noticed that there was something wrong with Loki's expression. It was as if they had said something that they were not supposed to say. It was as if they were being heard by other people. After Thor made this statement, Loki stayed for a little while, and then he left as promised to come back. Immediately he closed the doors and removed the mic. He slapped his head in frustration. Thor was still an idiot who could not read the room. Loki had wanted to rescue Thor and the Avengers, but now his brother had ruined everything. Loki was sure that Ravonna heard everything, and he knew that now. Her mind would be made up. However, Loki decided that he had something to do. The feeling he got when he saw his brother, after a very long time was so overwhelming that he could not let him be pruned. What Loki just needed now was an opening. Location: Ravana's office. The Avengers had failed the test woefully, and there was nothing Mobius could do again. They had both heard what they were plotting, and they could not deny it. The Avengers wanted to escape. They would not be useful workers as TVA workers. Ravana then asked if she could go now with the trials, and Mobius had no objections. The fate of the Avengers were sealed. The Avengers were all lined up on the deck, and their chargers were all read to them. After this was done, they were asked how they would plead. They all pleaded that their actions performed was accurate. They pleaded guilty. While some of the Avengers could not comprehend this sudden change of events, Captain America and Clint Barton did. The other Avengers thought that they were being hired into the TVA workforce, and from there they would plot their escape. However, Captain America and Clint understood that this was the plan of the TVA, until Thor blew it up by stating that they would escape if they were being enlisted. While others worried about their fates, Strange worried about the fate of Tony Stark. Stark looked more and more decayed. If anything, Tony started to look like a zombie, and Strange was not joking. Steven knew that this was because of the forbidden spell that he used to enable Tony to cheat death. The trial commenced, and no matter how Thor and Peter argued it, it seemed like their minds were already made up. She wanted to prune them all. The Avengers did not know what pruning meant, but they assumed that it was the ultimate form of punishment in the TVA, and they did not want to find this out. Loki, on the other hand, was in living hell, as he knew that he had to do something fast before the pruning. The only thing that he was waiting for was an opening. Loki literally prayed for a miracle to happen in order to save the lives, and it came in the form of someone dying. As Ravana was about to read the sentence out, Tony dropped on the ground dead. The TVA had an emergency medical staff and quickly confirmed that Stark was dead. Because of this, the court was thrown into a case of chaos. While Ravana tried to regain order, Loki decided to strike at this moment. Using enchantment, Loki casted dreadful illusions in the courtroom, and it threw the entire premise into a state of total chaos. Loki had a tempad and he rushed to use it to open a portal back to the Avengers' world. Before he did this, he removed all of their collars, and they got back their powers. However, before he could open the portal, TVA officers got reorganized, and they immediately apprehended him. Ravana then stated that she was not surprised that Loki betrayed them. She even said that she expected it. After all of the Avengers had been apprehended again, Ravana had time to read out her judgment. She sentenced all the Avengers, including Loki, to pruning. As the officials proceeded to carry out the act, all hell broke loose. Tony resurrected, but he was not the same man anymore. He was not even a man. Tony was now a zombie. Tony started by biting and attacking the TVA officers that were close to him. It seemed like the zombie state gave him enhanced speed and strength, and it made him almost invincible. Tony tore through the lines of the TVA, and they started to turn as zombies. Loki, who was a master of opportunity, took the opportunity to escape. He grabbed a tempad from a TVA official and opened a portal to their Earth. He looked at Doctor Strange and asked if he understood what he was going to do, and the Sorcerer Supreme nodded. Loki then threw him an Infinity Stone, the Time Stone. After this, all of the Avengers filled into the portal. Doctor Strange opened a portal and threw Tony into the portal back home. Thor was the last person to pass through the portal home, and he asked Loki if he was not coming. Loki just smiled sadly and told Thor that he had lots of things to take care of before coming home. Loki then pointed at a newly formed zombie biting at a TVA's ear off and joked about how no one would be able to take care of it except him. Thor then hugged Loki for the last time with teary eyes and entered the portal. The portal closed behind him. Once Thor passed through the portal, Doctor Strange started activating the Time Stone. The other Avengers were currently holding Tony down, and it was a lot of work. When Strange was ready to unleash the time reversal spell, he told them that none of them would remember the events of all that had happened. They all agreed that they were okay with it, and decided that Doctor Strange should tell them about it after the spell. Strange nodded and started the time reversing spell. To the time he told Peter about Tony dying. This time around, Strange did not tell anyone. Location: the final stand. Doctor Strange was currently on the battlefield and Tony Stark was looking at him. Strange then gave him a subtle nod, and Tony understood the assignment. Tony then went head to head with Thanos. Thanos had him beat physically, but Tony was wise. This was because Tony had swiped the Infinity Stones from Thanos, and when he snapped his fingers, nothing happened. Tony then smiled at him and snapped his fingers, which wore a nanotech gauntlet that contained the Infinity Stones. Thanos faded and the battle was won. However, the celebration spirits of the Avengers faded, along with Tony Stark. When nobody was watching, Doctor Strange teleported himself away and cried. He had lost a dear friend, and the universe had lost a hero. After crying his heart out, Doctor Strange decided against telling the Avengers about what had happened. He would take the secret to the grave, along with his other dark secrets. And that is going to be this little fanfiction about what if the Avengers were captured by the TVA in Avengers Endgame. Now, I want to do an alternate version where the Avengers are captured in Avengers 2012, and I really want to make that one interesting, and I can't wait to get into that. But that being said, what did you think of this Marvel's What If video? I do want to say, have you seen the What If Peter Parker was captured by the TVA? Because that is also either out right now or it's coming out pretty soon. So that being said, again, thank you so much for your support. It really goes a long way. I also do want to butt in here and say that there's a brand new series coming out on the channel, my fellow watchers, and I highly recommend that you check it out, because I do want to say there's going to be segments within this brand new series that's going to bring everybody together. So it's not really me asking you about your requests, but if you actually have questions about a particular episode and you want to talk about it, I will be featuring your comment in the description down below, because I do want to be shouting people out for community shoutouts. So if you have questions about the storyline and why I did certain elements within this particular story, you can actually check out that breakdown video that will be coming out soon. They will be coming out after What Ifs, and it usually addresses questions, it addresses everything, why I did certain things, why I wanted to choose different things here and there. It's a really interesting series. I'm giving the channel a lot more variety than I ever have before, because I do want to say that the channel has been just What Ifs, and I really want to get back into the roots where I was doing so many different things on this channel. So again, I do want to say thank you so much for watching. Do make sure to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, anywhere in between. You don't want to miss the updates, as we got content coming out pretty much daily now, so I cannot wait to get back into this. But thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, and have a fantastic day. Peace out.
Thank you.